Yes, hello everyone. It is you're here with Michelle, Alison, Kat, and myself with our weekly update, which, as I'm always telling you, is always Sundays, always at 7:30 p.m. Unless something goes wrong with the tech, we do try to be here and just to update you on things that are happening. So, top of the bill tonight is there. I'm going to hand over to Michelle.
Right, so starting tomorrow, we're launching our Missing Voices, Missing Rights campaign. Now, the campaign is a postcard campaign for children to express their views about the Children's Wellbeing in Schools Bill. There are a choice of 5 postcards that you can pick and colour in, and then put your view on the back, or there's one to design your own. They need to be posted back on the 27th of October. There will be some local collection points. If you're going to the rally on the 25th of October in Weston-super-Mare, we will have a post box there for children to put their postcards in if they want to. And then there's a group of homemade children will be meeting with the Children's Commissioner to personally hand the postcards over. We haven't got the exact date for that, but we have got the commitment that the meeting will happen. So therefore, we need to have all of them collated together to be able to hand over to her. So we are ensuring that she will personally get to see them, and therefore be able to take into account children's voices. One thing that's been very clear is there has been no actual consultation with children. Their own impact assessment acknowledges that they forgot to get children's views. Bearing in mind Article 12 of the UNCRC, that's quite a concern. So when it launches tomorrow, you'll see on the back of the postcards, it has actually got a little quote about Article 12
Are
and
we
their
saying
right
this is
to.
not a rights respecting agency?
Well,
They're not respecting the rights as they should because they're kind of forgetful about them.
yeah, well, yeah, the government, there's not a child version of the bill, bearing in mind the bill is all about children, allegedly. There's not been a consultation that involved the children's voices, when again, it's allegedly a whole bill about children. And the Children's Commissioner hasn't, as far as the FOIs have demonstrated and conversation in the background, hasn't done anything to collate children's voices, although she's been incredibly vocal about the Children's Wellbeing and Schools Bill. And obviously, her specific legal remit is to amplify children's voices, which, if she hasn't actually consulted them on it, you do have to question the mandate for speaking on their behalf when she hasn't asked them what their view is. So, this is a way of ensuring that she gets their view and is asked formally to consult them and actually amplify their real voices.
Well, that's really good of
Um,
you, Michelle, to do that for them. Help them with their job.
we can get them in her hands. Obviously, that's the best we can do is to actually get them in their hands. We will be some of these social media badges you'll be able to download yourself and use how you want from tomorrow. And we will be the top left hand corner one. We are making into a real badge that people can purchase if they want to sort of help with this. On the postcards, you'll see the address. The address is my business address, so Macaulay Red, because we're collating them all together to personally hand over to the Children's Commissioner rather than sending them independently to the Children's Commissioner. So we'll then also be able to say, we've handed over so many hundreds of postcards on this date. So at least we know they're definitely getting to her, and what sort of volume of voice is getting to her. And it stemmed from children who'd said they'd written to the Children's Commissioner and not had replies, said they'd emailed her and not had replies. And obviously, we do want to make sure that it's not that she's just not getting the message, that, it's a conscious non-reply, as opposed to maybe for whatever reason the email went in the spam, or, the letter got diverted. This way we ensure that she definitely hears your voices. But yeah, we will give more information throughout the week. We'll be doing extra bits, but it launches officially tomorrow, and it's called Missing Voices, Missing Rights.
Okay, so everyone, make sure you go and look on the group and or the Stop the Children's Wellbeing in Schools Bill page to make sure you get that information so you can take part in this action. And then we had this exciting story that gave us all a boost this week. How many of you watched the live stream of hitting 100,000 signatures on Tuesday evening? That was so exciting. Thanks, Kat, so much for doing that, because that was
Oh, you're very welcome.
just
Not a
so
problem.
much fun.
Yep.
And
it was good to share it, wasn't it?
Yeah, much needed morale boost and a celebration. And it's now gone up by another 50,000, which is even also phenomenal considering, I mean, how long ago was it that we didn't even have 50,000, Michelle? When did it start climbing? Like,
it's a couple of weeks ago, it only had 34,000.
Yeah, and we were
2.5 weeks ago, it had just over 12,000.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
And
Which is when Michelle went, right, we're going to push this now.
And we also struggled just to get it to the 10,000 mark. So 10,000 mark is the mark where the government responds. Then there's this huge leap where you need another 90,000 signatures. And then the government has to consider it for a debate. Unfortunately, I just see it says there, it doesn't say they will debate it. They will consider it for a debate. But
yeah, but people make a big deal out of that. But less than 1% of petitions make it to 100,000. The consider is not actually about considering. The consider is more about there are certain circumstances where legally they can't carry things over. So they can't guarantee a debate because, say, something happened and there's a general election, they're not allowed to carry it across. Say we ended up in war, again, national security crisis would take precedent and things like that. So it would be highly unlikely if you go over the 100,000 to not get your debate unless a national crisis occurred. So although it uses the word consider, it would be highly unlikely, because I have double checked into that.
Yeah, I do want to congratulate you, Michelle, because this was the petition you sent out, you worded. And, you know, as you said, it was at one stage we were really struggling with it, but then some of also our social media influencers got hold of it, such as Simon Squibb and Bruce Unfiltered and others. And we actually could see these figures going up like by the thousands in minutes. It was just like in 15 minutes, you'd be like another 1,000. It was just, it became a total phenomena. And I think the thing is that people often know what we do hear people saying, well, what does it matter? The government don't pay attention to it. They're not listening. Do you want to just talk about that for a minute?
Well, I think one thing, bearing in mind we've had quite a few petitions get over the 10,000 mark. If you look at the tone, and our petition hasn't yet been reviewed because the committee meets to review, I think it's once a month, and that's due to be next week. So our response hasn't yet been through the quality assurance check. And you'll know back in July, actually, the petitions committee made about 2 or 3 government responses have to be redone because they weren't happy that they actually answered the petition. But if you actually look at the tone of the responses, if you look at the tone of this one, go back and look at the tone on the one that was specifically unique identifier, go and look at the one on tangible rights, look on the one on exams. And actually, this one is more like, oh, we invite you to tell us what you're thinking. Whereas some of them were much more adversarial and quite confrontational. So even that shows they're starting to listen. They may not be showing that they're listening, but the fact their tone in how they respond has adjusted means that something is shifting in the background. So there's always hope until you get to the last bit, and seeing that tone changes also shows that. But the other side is getting these responses helps, because whatever happens in the future, that was the government giving an indication of their intention. So if they then try and say something else, you can actually use the government's own words against them. Go, yes, but you actually said this, or you committed to that. So it's all very important. And again, for lobbying your MPs, because sometimes the MPs will say, oh, no, the government wouldn't do that. And you can actually go, well, no, they've stated that. So I know some MPs had come back about they would support the exams for home educators. Well, we've got the government response for that, where the government response basically said, no, get lost. So it's useful then to say, well, no, actually, they're not going to see this. And obviously in this one, again, feeding back to the children's rights bits, they mention their impact assessment, but they forget the fact that the impact assessment actually they hadn't included children's views. So it's quite important to look at what they do answer and what they don't answer, because in my petition, obviously, I've stated that the impact assessments are inadequate. They haven't addressed that at any point. Now, if you genuinely thought they were adequate, I would expect you to say, well, no, we consulted with relevant experts, blah, 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 blah. These are robust impact assessments. They haven't said that. So it's as much what they do say as what they don't say that helps you then with your engagements. And again, any tool that, including the government's own responses, that helps you engage with your MPs and gets them taking notice will be important, because when it comes to the debate, we'll need bums on seats. We need those MPs in the room.
So I think that leads to a very important thing to talk about is, so what should we be doing right now in preparation for this debate? Anyone want to answer that? Alison?
Well, we should be engaging. We should be a thorn in the sides of our MPs. We really do need to be a thorn in the sides of our MPs. You know, write to them twice a week if you fancy. You know, I think inundate them, swamp them with emails, and we do.
And don't let them forget who you are. Remind them, just in case they've forgotten.
Yes. Oh, just in case you've forgotten. You didn't reply to my last email. Blah 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 blah. My MP hasn't emailed me back yet about the bill.
Well, I think the thing is, we want to point them also to this petition. So we want to highlight this petition to them and say to them, look, people are really do not have a taste for this bill. You can see here are the signatures. These are the issues behind it. If you haven't gone and read it properly, please go and do so. If you need me to point out the problematic bits, you know, I'm happy to do that. And
you can go one further than that. If you link this one in, there is a petition that actually contains stuff the bill is trying to do about home educators and safeguarding all those myths. That closed on a total of 43 signatures. So you could actually do a compare and contrast of, this is what the people are saying. There was a petition wanting what the bill says. Only 43 people chose to sign it in a 6-month period.
So if you're looking at representative numbers and what these numbers represent, then you have to consider that this is hugely unpopular. So all of these things do matter. Yes, we can sometimes feel like they aren't listening, but I also want to be able to say I did everything I could, everything to prevent this bill. And so, you know, we should not stop trying until there's absolutely, you know, we're beyond that point. At this stage, there's still many opportunities to try and to do whatever we can. So will you lead me, take it on to the next thing, Kat, because this actually...
One sec, just before we move on, there is a question from Louise in the comments asking, how likely are they to take notice of this before they pass the law? But like we were saying, though, the point of the petition is not just to say withdraw the bill. It's for us to say to our MPs, look how many people have signed this. Look how the signatures are spread all across the country. I think with that wonderful petition map that Anne shared in the action group, I think almost every constituency has at least 100 signatures. That's phenomenal, if I can say the word correctly.
Phenomenal.
That's the one. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I don't think we could have expected any better than that. It's been awesome.
Yes, well, where I am, we have 3 constituencies, and each one of them was well over 100. So combined, you know, that's even more. So I think definitely that will be my homework for this week, because I do battle to find time, but I do need to respond to my MP, Zara Sultana, because her response was very disappointing anyway, and she needs some correcting and being given some homework. So that map is a great idea. So definitely, I think we've got something to go back to them with, something substantial, and we need to be pushing them to attend that debate and to actually raise the concerns that people have, the real concerns. And that also leads to our next item, which is this is being put out by, is it Hannah?
It's Hannah. It's Hannah
Han on the on Instagram, or
Right.
on what I don't know if she's on TikTok as well, but she's busy. She has drawn up an MP template, and she is putting information out, and you can link to that. I'm sure she must have the link there somewhere to her
How it
suggested
actually
template.
works is if there's a keyword that you add into the comments of the post, and that automatically sends you back a link that
Yes,
if I
yes.
just skip the rest
I
of the
know one of
slides
them is
there.
facts, and another one is
Yeah. And it just takes you to here, which is basically the plan and where
Yeah.
to get your letters to send and everything else. So well done, Hannah. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been
Yep.
and what she's done is she's put together a template email and also a fact sheet that you attach to your email. So it's not just the information that's in the email. There's also a handy dandy fact sheet for the MPs about the main issues in the bill. And she's done this in such a way that anybody can do it. Anybody can do it. She's done it really nicely. And it should be done by midnight on the 26th of October. Why is that, Michelle? What's happening on the 27th? I don't know. But I think it's a date. It's a date that
Yeah,
is just
giving
important.
people there is a deadline so that we can do this within a very, if you do it en masse within this 2-week window, then those
Yeah.
MPs will be swamped again, which is what we really, really want, is for them to open up the inboxes and children's
And-
wellbeing in schools, will children's wellbeing in schools, will children will, that's filling their inboxes.
Yeah,
So
and
she's
can I just say, you don't need, right, if you're the mum, you send one email, you get your other half to send another email, you get
Mhm.
both of your children to send emails. That's 4 emails per household. You know, that
Yeah.
quadruples the effect. So come on, guys, get out there and just do it. They're so easy by this. So
And
Yeah.
on that, if your child's joining in the missing rights, missing voices campaign, you could photocopy that and attach a copy of that to your letter to the MP saying, I've written to the Children's Commissioner, see attached, so that it gets a double whammy there of making sure those points get heard.
Yeah.
absolutely.
You know, the thing
Absolutely.
is, this is gaining momentum, and I know we are a little bit in despair. We do feel like our voices aren't being heard, but this is gaining momentum because a lot of people were not aware of this bill. What has highlighted this bill for a lot of people is the digital ID thing, because the digital IDs are aimed obviously at like grown-ups, adults, although they want to consult on from 13 years up. But the Children's Wellbeing in Schools bill introduces a consistent identifier for every child that will basically link every aspect of this child's life so that that can be accessed by the powers that be. And that is likely to be a digital identity ID as well. The problem with the whole thing is, as an adult, we can say no, but when they introduce it for children and they say, oh, it's for safeguarding reasons and to protect children, everyone's like, oh, yeah, it sounds like a good idea. But this number will follow children into their adulthood. That it's another way of introducing it. If we say no as adults to the digital ID, well, they've got a backup plan for the children for the next generation. And as
And I
parents,
think
we
just
need
to
to
add
protect our children from this.
And just to add to that, so the consistent identifier will link the school records, health records, social care and things. Just to sort of bear in mind that a lot of schools, you pay for lunch now via biometrics. It's standard to use thumbprints and fingerprints, and there are a handful of schools where facial recognition to pay for your lunch is standard. So if you're linking all those records and the biometrics are already on the school records, you know, that's a step further. So when you reach 18, your NHS number doesn't change, and that's what they're claiming there at the moment. They've said that that's what they're trialing for this consistent identifier, and then you link to what information already is linked to schools and health and everything else, and that's when leave school, the biometrics are already registered, linked to NHS ID. There's already a digital ID in place without needing to pass new legislation.
I just wanted to see, Louise, Amber has just commented that she wants to know where to find this document. I think someone has already shared it on the action group page. I think there's a link to it already. if not, we will make sure that that one is up on the page. Plus, if you're not subscribed to our Substack yet, please do, because you will get everything through in your inbox tomorrow morning with all that information. If you're not on Instagram, where Hannah Han is with this particular post, just please put something on the action group if you can't find it. But we will be making sure that you have that. But yeah, anyway. Are we able to move on? Is there where are we at with it?
Yes. Okay. If you haven't already seen on Facebook, they have closed the community chats that we had with the action group now. So once again, we now have a Discord server that you can join. It's just to complement the action group. It's not instead of. You get alerts in there from as soon as the CWS bill is updated, and you can have a chat. There's some different channels for different projects once we've got enough people to get the conversation going. So please come join us soon.
Thank you, Kat, for setting that up. I'm not on there because I just can't have one other thing with the conversations
that's absolutely
going on.
fine.
But for those who want to, and a lot of people are already Discord users, I'm sure you appreciate this, and it'll probably be a great place to keep your conversations going. And probably better set up for it too. Okay, so we had this article in The Guardian. I had a read of it. Did any of you, how many of you have had a read of it? Yeah. What were your thoughts? Michelle, have you had a read?
I think it's quite a positive article. It's quite nice to have a relatively positive article
from The Guardian.
Out, really. Yeah. Well, they used to always be positive from The Guardian.
Yeah. I mean, there's a little bit of the tone. There's some things I didn't like, and also, like the very stubborn traces of the stereotypes that she just cannot let go of. But I suppose it's a little improvement on what we normally get. It's little things like where they I don't know. There's just sometimes where you're reading between the lines with the tone and so on. But anyway, it sounds like at least she's slightly more open-minded than some of the others we've had before. I think you just wonder sometimes, what will it take to properly convince people? Yeah, honestly, when we know it works, we know it's working well, and they still like got a big yes but, and I would like to see less buts these days. So because we've got enough evidence, we've got enough young people out there that are showing that the buts are few and far between. I mean, actually, even my daughter this week she's working at a university. She has a job, and she said like there was somebody she was talking to in her job who could not compute that my daughter, being home educated, could actually be socialized. In the meantime, she's having a proper conversation with her. My daughter's got her job. She's been through uni and all of that. And this lady, it was just like computer says no. She just couldn't put it together in her brain that you can actually have been home educated and be relatively normal. So anyway, I get tired of that. Okay, so then what? So that was quite a good article. And then where are we next? Okay, amendments. Who's the most up to date on that?
Hang on, there was a few more news
articles. Sorry. Let me jump to your headings, not to the one you've got on the side. Yes, is this the Welsh?
Yes.
This article made me angry.
More nonsense.
So if you scroll,
more nonsense. Absolute
if you scroll down all the way, Kat, like right near the bottom, before you come to toe fungus ads and so on, Miss Sims said, yeah. So Miss Sims said the difficulty is once the child is removed, we no longer have any rights. So we are doing everything we can within the law. Now, Miss Sims is the chief education officer, I suppose, for the region. But I don't know if she realizes, but they don't have rights regarding children. They have duties. They have responsibilities. And this is the kind of language, when we read these articles, we need to look for these little things that people are saying and sometimes we need to call them out on it. You have people here saying that like there's nothing they can do, when actually the law has given local authorities things that they can do to make sure children are receiving education. It's a lie, and they keep perpetuating this lie that there's nothing they can do. They say it appears that some of the world government legislation in this area is tying your hands behind your back as you have no powers. And this is not true. And if you're in the area, I would really encourage you to send them an email and just say, look, what you're saying is not true. And this is what's going out in the media, and perhaps you need to educate yourself better on the law and understand what powers the local authority do have. But that gets me really angry. It's this total, and they keep saying it. They keep saying it. It's like, but have you actually gone to find out what can be done? I don't know how they even get elected with the distinct lack of brain cells we see
It's not
on
just the
display
councils, is it?
sometimes.
I mean, Ms. Sims, so everyone with CLLR at the front is an elected person. Everybody with
Yes.
a Ms. at
Well,
the
she's
front
in a
is
job.
somebody
She's in a job.
Yeah.
But even
and no better. I mean, they've been saying this across the UK every single year. I used to train local authorities in home education and the law, and I started doing that in 2005. No, 2004, 2003, 2004. And even then, they were going, we don't have any powers, we don't have any powers. And then I point out to them the powers that they do have. And they go, oh, yes, but, you never know, and neglect and this and that and the other. And it's the same broken record.
yeah, because
It's
this
not-
one they're actually saying, they think that if I think it's so a bit further up, something about that every all home educated people should be seen by social workers.
Yeah,
what a
why?
waste of resources.
Are they going to start inspecting the under fives then, because nobody looks at them every week, do they?
I'm just having a look to see.
What to do a risk analysis?
This is actually after saying that children are issued with school attendance orders if the work is not suitable. So they've said that. And then one of the councillors said he believes that social workers should be used to check on the welfare of children being educated at home. It's just honestly.
Why, this is the thing, Juliet. Why do we suddenly become dangerous as parents when our children reach 5?
And not in the school holidays, like summer break when we're gone for 5 weeks.
School holidays. And the age, statistically, if you were to do a risk analysis, the most risky time in a child's life for them to be at risk from their own parents of death or serious injury is pre-5. In fact, it's pre-2. It's under 2-year-olds. Most of the child murders committed by family members happen in families with a step parent with children under 2. Massive, big, nobody's looking at the problems.
But that being said, I wouldn't really want them targeting families as well. But there are figures and facts.
At-risk group, and we're not an at-risk group. It's a blatant lie. It really is.
I really would like to see home educators that are in this area of Blenheim and Gwent or something.
Blenheim Gwent. Yeah.
To if you can to write to these councillors, write to the paper. I think write to the newspaper to kind of correct these misconceptions that people have, and we need to kind of do it every time we spot them. We have to just keep going with it.
The other thing is to go and try and find the minutes in the council's files online. Every local authority, they're in a slightly different place. There's no one universal system to find these things, but go find the minutes. Check what they said. Check what the report said that the councillors were showing as well, because as good as the local democracy reporting service is, there can be discrepancies. There can be bits they missed out. It's really worth checking it out and then get in contact with those councillors yourself.
Yeah, I think the point is, Kat, that we are going to have to be a lot more vigilant about policing our local councils now. We have to police our local authorities ourselves, because nobody else is going to do it for us. And when they do have these chats about nonsense about home education, we need to pull them up on it every time.
Yeah, and we need to be educating, unfortunately.
I mean, I
we
wish I
shouldn't have
had
to, but
time
we
to
do.
check every council, but there's
No.
hundreds. We can't do it.
Yeah.
We really need people to try and just take the initiative.
Yeah.
If you can't find something, post on the action group. I will help you.
Yes, and I want to
But
actually
it's
say I
too
was
much
so
for one
impressed with
person.
one of our local councillors here where I live, because they showed such an empathy and an understanding and a desire to see home educators and families working well with the local authority, that there should be a good partnership, and that was really refreshing. And so, you know, where it's good, you know, really encourage them and thank them, but otherwise we need to be bringing them up on bring them up to date on what the law actually says and what the powers and duties are that councils have. Okay, what do we got next, Kat?
For
I haven't had
Alison.
a look at this one.
Yeah, I can talk about this one
Yeah.
because I noticed that this one it's really it is an American article, but when we're talking about the myths and the scaremongering, this has quite a good analysis of what that the myths and scaremongering are exactly the same in America. You know, they are fears about isolation, there are fears about low academic standards, there are fears about, you know, and so here we go. It deprives children of alternative viewpoints, stays within specific demographics, and contributes to neglect or abuse. This is exactly what we get accused of here as well. So it's quite useful to look at this particular article, which is very well written, and see what the anti-arguments are, and maybe utilize some of it.
So who's written this article?
I don't know, actually. I mean, I know that this is a lot of this is based on some research at Johns Hopkins University, because Johns
Okay, so
Hopkins,
it looks like she works for an organization that serves home educating families.
Midwest Parent Educators. Right, there we go.
Very
Yeah.
interesting, but it sounds like it's a well written, balanced article, which is really good and
backed by academic research as well. So
Yeah.
I think that would be really, really. Oh yes. So the biggest go up just one line, Kat. That's it. So Elizabeth Bartholet from Harvard Law School is the biggest enemy of home education in the US, and she has a very, very loud voice in the US because she's at Harvard. And she doesn't. Everything that she talks about is based on her own perception. It's all rhetoric. It's not actually based on research. So it's very interesting to see how the Americans have been fighting that.
The attitude. Well, the attitude they often have towards the research is that, okay, yes, but what about the ones we don't know about? It's always like they assume that there's a whole bunch of people hidden that they don't know about. And that's not to say that there aren't the very, very extreme rare cases where that happens, but it's certainly not on the scale that they would have everyone believe it is.
And it's more possible to hide children in communities and compounds in America. You can't do that here. That doesn't happen here. We don't have that stuff going on, you know?
Yeah.
We really don't.
Yeah. Yeah. It is extremely rare as well.
It's extremely rare that anybody gets born without anybody knowing about it, that children are totally unknown. It's incredibly rare.
Mm. Okay. What's next, Kat?
Just quiet 1 sec. Yeah. They are back. Oh, it's all sorts of Roblox in the background. We've got the MPs and Lords back in Parliament next week. So there's nothing specifically home ed. There's no more dates for the Children's Wellbeing in Schools Bill, but we do have a few things that might be of interest. We've got the head of the Education Committee presenting one of the reports to the House of Commons, and that's on Monday. People that are interested in what's happened to the money after VAT being added on to private school fees, there's going to be a question in the House of Lords on Monday. The Education Committee are talking with Ofsted basically. And then I think that's a Westminster Hall debate about reforming the educational assessment system, which is one we need to keep an eye on, really.
Yeah, and just to remind people, and I will bang on about this as often as I can because people still don't get it. GCSEs are set up to fail 30%. They are set up every year to fail 30% on every subject. We cannot improve grades. It's an impossible situation to improve grades on. So every time somebody comes up and goes, oh, we need to get more people passing their GCSE maths, it's an impossibility because that's not the way the system works. So we need to call them out on this utter nonsense every single time it happens. And we do need to reform the system because what we need is a standardized system that says this is the standard you need to achieve in English or in maths, and that standard should not change all the time to ensure that 30% fail, which is what it does right now. Okay. Oh yeah, this one.
Yep. So ICO got a consultation out on their draft guidance. It closes 30th of October because when the what was that bill called? The Data Use and Access Act 2025, when that passed, it added an extra element called a recognised legitimate interest. So obviously the guidance has to all be updated with the ICO about legitimate interest. Now, why we're interested in this is because if the bill passes, GDPR will become either our friend or our nightmare. And so we need to ensure that any guidance isn't being drafted in a way that can make the situation worse than it's already going to be with processing data. So it's really important to have a look at this draft guidance, see what you're thinking about it, see if you're comfortable with how they're phrasing the use of legitimate interest, and then fill it in and get your voices heard. It can be filled in several hats, so you can fill it in as an individual, you can fill it in as an organization. It's just important that we're heard, because the guidance has to be followed once it's in place. At the moment it's draft, so at the moment there's an opportunity to shape it for the better.
And legitimate interest is basically they're talking about thresholds for sharing information or keeping information,
and this is quite relevant to us at the moment.
Yeah. So go read it. It's very, very important.
Bearing in mind that they're trying to change the thresholds for sharing data without consent through the Children's Wellbeing in Schools Bill. So they want to lower that threshold so much that it's almost meaningless. And then basically, so then it becomes lawful to share data without consent. So even asking whether it's lawful or not, if they change the law, yes, it is lawful. So I think this does impact us, and we should go and have a look at it.
And the other particular interest bit is the public task bit, because that's doesn't necessarily require the law to specifically say that that's the reason to do it. But if the legitimate interest is that it's a public task, then it is lawful for them to process your data share. So it's important to understand how they can use that legitimate interest argument under public task, which is actually why a lot of our voluntary registers are not voluntary, because it wants your names on the list at the moment. It's public task that is often used as the reason not to erase your data when you go, hang on a second, there isn't a home ed register, I don't want to be on it. It's like, yeah, but we've got to do public task section 436K, so we're not going to. So it's really important to sort of note any things where they're adjusting those, because it may not appear a big thing, but if you want to do something about your own data later, if we already let the guidance change, it may be too late at that point when you want to do something to protect yourself. Yeah,
and this is really important because I know of people who found themselves have found their data being shared or their data being collected, and they're not even aware of it. So they're not even aware they've been signed up for things. So it's we do need to be aware. So those are all our top stories of the week on our News Night program. And
there's a question in the comments, Julia, that says, is it worth writing to our local councillors as well as our MPs?
Always.
Absolutely.
Because, you know, having a council understand the issues as well is really important, because that's like in my council, for example, there are some councillors who get it, there are some who don't, but on the whole we have a decent local authority elective home education officer. She's feeding back maybe to them occasionally, but you know, if you think of an example, so Portsmouth, for example, where we know the local authority really horrible, but Portsmouth Council themselves, like their councillors and so on, would have very different policies. And we need to keep working through those councillors to try and make sure you change the culture and the understanding, because these councillors do have power within that authority. As we, you know, and they have a microphone that we don't have. They have a place to get their voices out, we don't. So we have to talk to them as much as possible and make friends with them and so on. Let them get to know us a little better and understand that home education is a really positive thing and not something to be afraid of. Okay, are there any other questions in the chat that we need to take note of?
Yeah, I'm just checking the Stop the Children's Wellbeing in Schools Bill page. Is there any draft letters for councillors? No, because the aspects of home education that each council looks at is different. So we would need to find out what they're looking at, and then we can help. Ask in the action group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Randall Hardy is a really good person to ask about how you can talk to your counsellor. So if you want to ask the question on the action group, I would propose, if you want to know more about that, put a question on the action group on what can I do to influence or to contact counsellors in my area, and one of us will tag Randall for you and get him to respond to you as well.
And he's also on Discord as well, if you want to join that.
He is on Discord, yeah. So because they've done a lot of work, he and his wife, with their council, so he will be able to give you some of that experience as well. Anything else?
Yep, 2 rallies. So obviously there's a rally on the 25th of October in Weston-super-Mare, being led by Patients for Parents Carers. Otherwise friend of us, Jade Knight, is the other element. It's a lot of different organisations are coming together, and that's the 25th of October at Weston-super-Mare. There is an event link on the Stop the Schools Bill page, so you can go on there to get more details.
And that's a Saturday. Hopefully people can make
it. Yes, that is a Saturday, because it's the last day my government petition has. It dies on the 25th of October. That's its last date, which is why I remember the date so clearly. And it's also the first day of half term in that area.
And clocks change.
Oh, that's going to confuse me. I forget that. And then we've got a large protest on the 17th of January. That's going to have a march to Whitehall and have a big rally there. I know we're still looking for stewards, and again, we're still looking for a few more speakers, and if you're media, we also want you getting in touch. But I'm going to put the email in the comments, because you can come through to the page, but we'd prefer you to go straight to CP Reports email address, so that she can collate and coordinate all the stewards, because she's the police liaison for the event on the 17th of January. So I'll ensure that goes in the comments.
If somebody wants to put me up, give me a bed for the night, I will come to that rally. Okay.
But we are planning ahead. We are planning ahead with events. You know, as long as this bill hasn't passed, we are planning and we are moving forward. Please put the 25th of October into your diaries if you think you're going to be able to make it to Weston-super-Mare and get all that information. And the 17th of January, I'm pretty sure almost 100% of you have not yet booked that date, anything for that date. So put that in your diaries now before you do, and plan to be there, because I don't know where we'll be with this bill by then, but that may be an opportunity for a really powerful, well-attended last stand.
Well, it's the day before my birthday, so I'm not going to forget it.
There we go. So, and that's like a hint. So we
No,
don't
it's
forget
not.
your birthday.
No, I don't even want to think about how old I'm going to be then.
Oh.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and
Okay.
we can't do any guesstimates for when the bill will be through until we have the dates of the report stage starting.
Yeah.
Once we have that first date of the House of Lords report stage starting, we can make an educated guesstimate, but it will still be a guesstimate because after the report stage comes ping pong, and that does depend how militant the MPs are being about not wanting to accept amendments the House of Lords may have brought forward.
Yeah. I mean, they've not accepted many amendments that I know of right now. Anyway, I don't know if much has changed at all. So.
Yeah, we have a question from Julie asking, will the data collection affect 16 plus?
Alison's
The
nodding.
data collection where?
I think she's just meaning the data collection related to the unique identifier.
The
So,
unique
yeah.
identifier is going to be rolled out across the whole population ultimately. So yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And certainly if your child's in sixth form and stuff like that, they're still under the
Yep.
bit. So the 16 to 18 will still be captured.
Okay. So I think if that's everything, any last remarks from anyone?
Last words.
Everybody happy? I mean, I'm not happy. I would much rather we didn't have to talk about this stuff at all, and we could all have a lovely time with our families, enjoying ourselves. But here we are. Okay, so we will see you guys next week, Sunday
Yeah.
evening, 7:30 p.m. That's every week, and please sign up for the Substack. Actually, Kat, remind people how to be notified of the live every week.
If you put exclamation mark followed by the word notify, so that's all one word, into the chat here, you'll get a notification when either of when the Alliance or the Stop the Bill page goes live, depending on what page you're on. But yeah, so if you
So
put that in the
that in the
chat, you'll get a
comments, yeah.
notification. Yep.
Yeah, put
Just
that in the
like it won't
comments
work for
and-
me because I'm the
yeah.
Alliance at the moment.
Yeah.
But just
And as I said, the
that.
Substack is another great way of making sure you stay up to date. If you sign up for that, and you can get that in your inbox every Monday, even if you forget about the live, you will get that information.
Yep.
Have a
And
great week,
we're
though, yeah?
sneakily putting the videos up onto YouTube, but all the links and notes
Thank
are on
you.
Substack.
Thank you. That's great. Okay, so thank you, Kat, for setting up everything, and
You're welcome.
everyone. I hope you have a good week, while also emailing your MPs and doing the Children's Commissioner things. Make that part of your education, because that's engaging with politics, which is really good for your kids' education.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.